Hey folks, I'm here with the co-owners of the Push Comedy Theater to tell you all about Pushing Dragons. Why don't you two introduce yourselves?
I'm Brad McMurran.
And I am Sean Dever. And as I said, we are the co-owners of the Push Comedy Theater in Norfolk. And we are the co-creators of Pushing Dragons, which is a Dungeons & Dragons live play. When you say live play, people think of people just like sitting around the table. But because we are a theater, we've added I would say more LARPing than actual play. And, we go all out with costumes. You can see we have, this is our dragon, our part of our dragon. The body didn't make it past the show, but the head still remains. So we play 5th edition. The audience rolls for the players. It's been a lot of fun. We've been going on almost a little over 2 years now.
Yep.
Okay, so how did Pushing Dragons kind of get started?
The short version, because I don't know how long this runs, with the pandemic. Yeah, the pandemic, he called me up, and I was not a Dungeons & Dragons guy at all.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't have any hate for it or anything, just wasn't really a player. And he called me up one afternoon, and he was like, we're playing Dungeons & Dragons tonight. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do that. He's like, no, you're playing.
Yeah, I hadn't Dungeon Mastered a game in probably close to 20 years. And just being depressed during the pandemic, I was called everybody up and said, hey, do you want to play D&D? And it just happened to everybody that I called said yes. So my first real DMing, I have 8 players, 8 improv comedians.
That's a lot.
And myself. And the adventure we were running was only supposed to take 5 or 6 sessions, and it took us 22 to get through it. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, we had a blast. And then right about the time that the campaign ended is when the theater opened back up. And we were still trying to play a weekly or bi-weekly game here at the theater. My wife finally said, you can do D&D or you can do the theater, but you can't be both.
Yeah.
So then we started talking. He's like, well, what if we put the two together? That's the loophole my wife didn't think of.
Loopholes are great.
Yes, exactly. So, so we took the players from the home game we had, and we probably spent a good 4 months just workshopping it.
Longer than that, but about 4 to 6 months
before
figuring it out. And I won't bore you with too much of the details, but it blew up. It was lovely, and I've gotten to sort of connect with a crowd I never would have connected with. And Dungeons & Dragons fans come out and watch this show, and they get into it. About mead, dressing up, coming up to me afterward and asking me why I didn't use this particular action or something, and I'm like, this is great. He gets yelled at during the show from time to time because he'll mess up a rule or something, and it's...
you have that audience. So
the audience there.
Table where it's player noticed.
Exactly, Now it's gotten so much easier. If I'm not 100% sure of a rule, I will literally just ask the crowd. And they will tell me, they will tell me, what the correct answer is. So that's been a lot of fun.
And a lot of fun to sort of incorporate into characters, because when we first started, I'm creating this with them, but I had to come in as the, and I'm getting these lingos down. I used to call it a CPU, is how old I am, but NPC. We come in as the bad guys, but unlike you being a bad guy when you're on your table, to where you're controlling the bad guy, being the voices, he has to hand it over to actors. So the especially with me, when we were working together, we've been working together 20 years, we would have to go off script and sort of, but we figured this out, Dawn, is we became these heels. Like wrestling almost. They were these heels.
I will come up with the scenario. The players go on a quest or they have to rescue somebody. And I will get the people playing the monsters, this is the story.
NPC.
The NPCs. These are the objectives. This is where I'm hoping the story will go at the end. But at the end of the day, I have to leave it up to them, because I am on top of the wiener hole, kind of
that's our bar.
Our bar area.
We sell hot dogs.
Yeah. So once
that's strange. Anyway.
Yeah. So once the show gets going, I can jump in and kind of narrate, but it's really becomes the monsters and the NPC show, and then the players just like a normal player characters. They have no idea what they're walking into. For them, it's all improv.
Okay.
But again, it's weird because you do have a live audience watching, and you want to have fun with the game, but you also want to entertain a live audience. And we have an out time because we have like a show that comes in after us.
Okay. And you also incorporate, like, the audience gets to help contribute as well.
Yeah, the audience rolls.
We have penalties for bad rolls.
Yeah, so if you roll a 1, you have to give some sort of flaw or quirk to the player that you are rolling for that they have to incorporate into their character.
Oh, that's super.
One of our wizards that was really good, Jerry, played by James Roach, was given the first show we did where he had to rhyme.
Yeah.
And he was a rhyming wizard, but it kind of worked.
Yeah,
So his audience
I can see
fell in
that.
love with him.
This is your first time with D&D. Sean, how long have you been?
I am old, so I was playing D&D back in the 80s. Played through high school and then a little bit in college, and then just life took over and hadn't touched it again probably 15, 20 years. And then pandemic happened, and I don't even know how. I was just going through YouTube one day, and I found a Matt Colville video and started watching those nonstop.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's play.
It's not fully improv, but it's also not just like a regular D&D. So, like, how has it been finding that in between? And then also, like, what have you learned anything about, like, just running games from doing the improv, or vice versa, learned things about improv?
I would say it's really cool. I would say when we first started doing the show, I was much more scripted. I was very much a control freak. I would like write lines for all the monsters and all the NPCs and try to like stick to the script.
Well, sure, I can see from a game master, you're used to running all of this.
Yes, exactly. So relinquishing that control,
Which the heroes have no idea what.
yeah. You know, and like I said, you know, I have an idea of a story in mind but the more we started playing, it was like, I have an end goal, and then that end goal started to shift as the story started taking, you know, on a mind of its own. And then once I just stopped worrying about
Every
that,
time you do that, you're going to smack me in the
Yeah.
face, man. I wanted to do a take every time you do it, but go ahead.
I'll do it this way. Yeah, I would get super anxious right before. I never get anxious going on stage, but for some reason, this show would always make me super, super anxious. But yeah, and just let the improv roll. I think the first moment we had is we almost had TPK.
I was going to get it. I was going to say total death kill.
Yeah.
That's not it, yeah.
We almost had a TPK when he was playing the Manticore.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm like, are you going to play this monster? He's like, all right, well, what is this monster all about? So I actually have a book. It's called The Monsters Know What They're Doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So I had given him the chapter on the Manticore.
I did. Sitting there, he's open for one-sided and unreasonable deals. I had almost killed everybody. I was knocked down, and I had 2 people left with 1 hit point left. And we'd never had this happen before, but somewhere early in the campaign, somebody had a baby with them. So there was a baby in every episode, this fake baby that for some reason the barbarian really loved, but I'd already knocked him down.
Yeah, and for some reason the audience was getting really behind this baby that the barbarian adopted, you know.
Fell in love with
So
this
then I would like cut the little scenes where he's training the baby, you know, to like rage and stuff like that.
It was
So
adorable.
the audience loved this little fake baby for some reason.
It's like the favorite, like, NPC that you were not expecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so during it when they're all going down, there's this one character left, played by this wonderful actor, that has this baby, and I get everybody else is down. And I'm like, she has 1 hit point left. And I said, tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I don't kill you and then kill the whole party if you just give me the baby. This place went insane on me.
Oh.
I mean, half was like angry, but another half was dying laughing, where it was just ridiculous. And this actor made the choice to give me the baby. Saved all of them, but it gave the storyline for you to get this baby back.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I had this entirely other plan for the baby. We'd actually, we have a teen class, so we were going to get one of the kids to eventually take over and playing that part. And then, so the baby was an integral part of the story going this way. And I'm up there and Brad's like, give me the baby. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? What's going on?
I didn't want to have to kill everybody. We didn't
Again. And then he took the baby and the story went in a completely other direction. And I knew there was that moment where I was like, all right, this is fun. Let's see where this goes. Yeah.
A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Alicia. If you enjoy our videos, please consider heading on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and check out the perks of being a patron. We love making these videos for you, and becoming a patron is the best way to support us. Okay, let's get back to the video.
For people who aren't familiar, can you tell them what Push Comedy Theater is?
Push Comedy Theater is based out of Norfolk, Virginia. We are an education and performing stage. We're a satellite kind of stage, so it's about 100 people deep. And we have improv shows, sketch comedy shows, stand-up comedy shows, original pieces, and Dungeons and Dragons, murder mysteries, all the things you can think of. Check out the page and you can sort of figure that out. But we also have classes and all of those things I just talked about. And we trained up at a place called Upright Citizen Brigade in New York, as well as Second Cities and everywhere else that we've done over the 20 years we've been doing this. And we travel the country doing it, and it's just been lovely to be able to be based out of out of Hampton Roads.
Do you have any advice for, especially with our audience, like people playing D&D, of like what they can borrow from improv to make their tables better?
Yeah, I can tell you one that really sticks with me. That I'll always use the rest of my life, and it came from a real moment in this show. A really good friend of mine named Brant Powell that we went to college with, and he's a renowned sort of artist locally around here, and he is in a show with me, and he plays a bard, and he made this choice that was really hammy actory, but like being at a table where he's a writer, and he was going to be this very sort of nose up in the air kind of writer at first, and my character was the Gamby character that I was making come to life, and I hated the choice. So in my head, I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh man, am I going to have to hear this for the next 2 hours or 3 hours of my life? But I made this choice instead that we do teach. I'm trained in. It's like, make the opposite choice that you loved it. And that, what a great move. And I made it to where my character was weeping when he did the end of his story, and it created this bond that would not have come without yes-anding that guy's play.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I sit down, and I know that's so fundamental to say, but if you treat your friends or your other people at the table like their moves are genius, it tends to make it so much more fun, because like if you're a wizard that says you can do these things, instead of being like the naysayer at the table or somebody that's like undercutting it, find it to be gorgeous and watch what happens. Yeah.
Everybody says like, what's the number one rule of improv? And everybody thinks it's yes and. But in reality, it's make your partner look good.
Yeah.
When Brad and I are up on a stage, if my goal is to make him look good and his goal is to make me look good, the show has a chance of success. It's when I'm trying to be like, I'm going to be the star of this night, or he's going to be the star of the night.
Or not listening.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So I think that works around the table as well. Is like, instead of like, my character is going to be the hero, making the other character.
That's the key right there, is when you're all by yourself. If I can actually listen to you and react, you'll win.
So do you have any kind of future plans for Pushing Dragons, or even just like dreams that you'd love to be able to do?
Kind of what we're doing coming up, and why we've even teamed up on this, is having things where it's showing the world. There's this kind of reputation of my generation of, oh, you do that D&D thing. I don't know if you get it a lot.
Yeah,
but I get it in my life. We're like, oh, and they kind of wave that. But I haven't had as much. A lot of other guys have had it. I know you've had it in your life with people that are like, oh, that thing. But I've noticed it since I've gotten into it. They're like, you're into that, Brad? And I'm like, yeah. And it is really new for me. So it's really like a young love affair for me right now. Is I see so many opportunities like the Dragon Faire coming up to be able to get people dressing up and coming out and realize that again, back to have fun with it, and that it is a bunch of. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And that really is the end of it. Is like,
Yeah.
forget the
Get together with
judgment that you've
friends.
heard of this game. It's really fun. You know, it really is.
Yeah. So speaking of the Dragon Faire, tell people what it is, where they can find it.
And there has just been this kind of outpouring of love for the Pushing Dragons show, and we wanted to like, all right, how can we A, make it bigger, and B, get other people involved, which is, you know, something we like to do here at the theaters, you know, bringing in other artists and things like that. So we've decided we wanted to have kind of like our own day-long kind of Ren Fair. So we have the plot, which is across the street. It's a city park across the street from the theater. We're going to have vendors. We're going to have workshops. You'll be teaching a workshop. We have some other people teaching workshops throughout the day. We've gotten the businesses. The restaurant next door is going to be hosting. Commune is going to be hosting games. So if you want
players is letting us use space for lectures and for classes. And stuff like that.
Hurrah Players, the children's theater, they're right around the corner from us. And it's a chance to get our students involved and doing something creative. We have one girl who, she's one of our students, not a D&D player. She's been to a couple of the shows and she thinks they're fun, but turns out that she, you know, is a lifelong Ren Fair person. And so she has created the Feywild. So we're going to have...
so wait till you see what she's done. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's amazing.
So it's just like bringing all these different communities together. Like I said, we have
to create, but also get the communities to come out. Like, what I think is going to be interesting is you're going to see all these. I will promise you one thing about our festival: people are going to dress up. It's the only thing that I have made to where I want this place to look, you know, like Middle Earth. You know what I mean? Or Dungeons and Dragons Middle Earth, right? Where you have really crazy looking, wonderful things around. Plus, the people driving by, I think, that see this are going to be like, what the
Let's go to
heck?
that.
Yes, exactly.
Stop and find
Which is what you want in the heart of a city. We're in the arts district of Norfolk, and despite being the arts district, there's not a lot of art going on.
Not enough art.
Yeah, not enough art during the day. We have great murals all over the place, but there's not a lot of things happening during the day. So, I mean, we're gonna have barbarian yoga, all the poses that have some sort of like, you know, the warrior pose. There's one called the Inside Dragon, so it's all gonna be that. So she'll be doing that.
Plus, I don't mean to be rude, but I know some of the barbarians and that. I know we're not going to be able to get anywhere near that position.
Yeah, Cassie, the instructor, she'll be fine, but the rest of
She'll
them.
be wonderful. Yeah, she teach, you know, as a trained teacher in that. But we've gotten some musicians that are going to be playing. This will be turned into a tavern. Like I said, everything sort of around this this 2-block radius is going to be Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And we really wanted to do this, but like you said, is to get people together, and it is year one. We'd like this to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
It should be a celebration of this fun game that I learned about 4 years ago.
That's been kind of fun. Again, like if you asked me when we opened the theater 10 years ago, it's like, hey, D&D is going to be one of your biggest shows, and you're going to be known more for your D&D than you are for your comedy, which I would have believed that they said about you, but not me.
I saw you decided to wear the glasses.
It makes me look smarter.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
November 9th in the Neon District. Come on by for the Dragon Faire. And so come on by to check out the Push Comedy Theater. Come see Pushing Dragons along with all of their other shows.
Thank you, Dom.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
It's been awesome.